They might be self-aware.
Gary here. Currently outside a 7-Eleven watching a 12-year-old explain Claude code to his dad. And this kid is making more than I've made all year. Today on They Might Be Self-Aware, the guys, Hunter and Daniel, discuss how OpenAI won't even identify presidents in photos anymore. Which, honestly, I get. Because I've been asking Gemini to not identify me in my LinkedIn profile pic, but apparently being unemployable isn't a protected class. Also, they're putting video ads in AI coding tools. And this Austin school is somehow 10X-ing children's intelligence, while I can't even 1X my rent payment. Enjoy the show!
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Crawling through the AI gold rush with blown circuits and burning souls, it must be. They might be self-aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by the burning soul himself,
Daniel Bishop. And I'm going to do one of these days. I think I did like one once. You've inspired me. I know you're using generative AI for it. We talked about that last episode. You should be using generative AI to help with your... No. I'm not saying this in a negative way. Everyone should be using generative AI to help with their job.
It's a collaboration,
There's
Daniel.
work involved in this. A collaboration. Yeah. No, he's collaborating.
So, by the way, it's a fun fact.
Do a homegrown, farm-to-table, brain-to-mouth version of one of these.
A little bit of behind the scenes here, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lift the kimono for all those people who are really wondering what's underneath the kimono.
You have to subscribe to the diamond tier for Hunter to lift this kimono. Oh boy.
My namesake. So fun fact, I was named after Hunter S. Thompson. That was my parents' inspiration for naming me Hunter. Read into that how you will.
Okay.
But I have an AI version of Hunter S. Thompson, and those intros come from a very personal and intimate collaboration with my AI Hunter S. Thompson. So yeah, if you ever wondered.
That is absolutely wild. I genuinely don't know what to think about that.
What's new in your world, man? Any kimonos?
So we were talking about 10X engineers and whatnot last episode.
Right. What's your current number?
The number is extremely high because I did a little side project that I couldn't have done on my own. Like I currently lack the tools to have accomplished what I wanted to do. Did you also use Hunter S. Thompson AI?
I
did not. No, I used a lot of Claude. You guys know me. I loves me some Claude. It's Claude Code. I was on Klein for a while. I've talked a lot about Klein, VS Code extension. Now I'm fully in Claude Code. It's basically the same thing. But what I did is, and I'm not going to dive too deep in this because it gets really specific and I'm going to lose a lot of people if I do that. There's a video game. It's called Disco Elysium. There's a crazy guy who's like the person that you play. Yeah. And he has, so I said that I wanted to do this. I did it. He's got like 24 different like aspects of his personality that kind of weigh in along the way as you play this game. And I thought that was such a cool concept. I wanted to extract the text from that and then like train a chatbot to sort of to weigh in that same sort of way. I didn't know where to get the data from. I found someone had like done a data dump. It wasn't the right thing. I found a couple of like blog posts of here's where I got this thing. I took that, I put it into Claude Code. I said, hey, here's the thing we're going to do. Long story short, like 10-ish hours of work later, no more than 16, no more than 2 work days worth of work over the course of a few days. Mm-hmm. This thing finds the data, extracts the data, formats the data using tools that like I'd never seen. I have no understanding of. Last episode, I was saying that the real 10X engineers of the future need to understand the tools.
What were some of the tools? Just name drop.
I don't even remember the name of the library, but it was like a Python library to extract data from Unity, which is like a game engine.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of it. The only things that I'd seen online of how to get it were like standalone tools. I would have gone down the wrong path and a bad, slow path if I'd done this on my own, which I didn't have time to do anyways. Instead, I said, hey, I had this idea and I don't have the time to do it. Can we do it? Again, long story short, yes, I accomplished the goal that I was setting out to do. I'm very pleased with myself, very pleased with Claude, frankly, but like it was not a viable thing for me to do. So the 10x, 100x, 10,000x, I don't have the time, effort, or energy to have learned the tools to have accomplished this task. It's kind of along the same lines of how I said that I made this website. I'm not going to learn to be a front-end engineer or, frankly, a back-end engineer, but I built this whole thing. These tools are so incredibly useful to take people who don't have a set of skills and still let them accomplish things that traditionally would have needed those skills or a whole team of people and a ton of money and time to accomplish. Don't need to do that. If you want to do this as like a real product, you should probably have someone who's good at those tools to go over them. But like low barrier to entry, I made a little thing for fun for myself. The sky's the limit, and everybody should be screwing around with these tools. They're fun, useful, fast, easy.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mentioned I've been doing some pinball related stuff and diving into how those machines are built. And I've been leveraging AI all across the place to learn about these things. I do video chat sessions with the AI where I'm pointing to things, asking how it works. I've taken all my machines apart pretty much completely, and including there were parts of it where I couldn't figure out how do you take this apart? Like it seems like it has some like weird locking mechanism, and I describe it to the AI, say, is this some sort of tool I need? And the AI said, no, like there isn't a tool for this, but I said, well, has anyone come up with something that I could 3D print? And they said, no, but if you want, I could send you an STL file. Those are the files that go to 3D printers with a tool to help you work on your pinball machine. So this was ChatGPT. It sends me the 3D file for the tool. I throw it to my printer. Maybe an hour later, I have the tool and I'm popping all the connectors.
So it actually worked. Like ChatGPT said, I'll make you 3D
it made
object.
me a tool and sent it to me. And other things, there were things I wanted to do with the lighting, but I don't have any real background in electronics. I understand like the absolute basics, but nothing more than the absolute basics. And it's designing circuits for me. And I'm like, okay, build up a parts list. Okay, and I'm ordering parts. I haven't built the circuit yet. And by the way, I've seen some horror stories online of leveraging ChatGPT to design circuits.
Sure.
But man, I'm diving in, and I think that's the part of it. Like you got to dive in. But it's fun. What do you want to learn? Start.
Right.
You have an expert with you who will explain it to you at whatever level you want it to, including explain it to me like I'm 5. And then after you do 5, do 6, 7, 8. Yeah. I find 11's the sweet spot. Eli, 11.
This one goes to 11. Another timely reference. So I guess one last anecdote, and then I wanted to go into something that OpenAI did that I'm not terribly happy about.
What else?
I'm in a book club with some friends, and we are reading a book that has to do with ancient Egypt. I know ancient Egypt, right? As much as the next guy, which is to say not very much. Ancient Egypt lasted so long that there were like historians of ancient Egypt in ancient Egypt studying even more ancienter.
Did we ever figure out how the pyramids were made?
Thousands of years long. Thousands of years long. So the book it's The Murder of King Tut by James Patterson. Most of us didn't actually like the book. I didn't like the book. This is not a book club review thing. I didn't like the book. That doesn't matter. The point is, it was about King Tutankhamun, right? Everyone's heard of King Tut.
Sure.
I didn't know anything about King Tut. And then the more that we're reading this book, I'm like, it turns out I don't actually really know anything about ancient Egypt. Like they've got a bunch of gods with like animal heads, and they got pyramids, and it's in the desert. That's kind of as far as I go. So I asked ChatGPT 2 times. I asked it once, and then I asked Gemini's deep research because I like theirs better once. ChatGPT, in its voice conversation mode, I was like, I'm reading this book. It's about King Tut. I need some historical context. What happened? Like, what was going on in Egypt then? Also, what's going on like 50 years sort of forward and back? Like, what's the immediate historical context? And then what's more? Where in quote unquote ancient Egypt is someone who's only vaguely been exposed to ancient Egypt? What was this? Ground me in the story, because other than pyramids and sand, I didn't really know much. And it was fascinating. It gave me this like very conversational back and forth, and I asked some follow-up questions. I'm like, that's really cool. I also know that these tools hallucinate, and I couldn't trust it. And so then I went to Google Gemini, and I said basically the same question, just formatted a little differently, whatever. And I had to do a deep research about it of like, what the hell was actually going on in ancient Egypt around this time? Give me historical, and like, the format that, frankly, it gives for the deep research is not ideal for what I wanted here. It gives me this like long scholarly article sort of written thing with like executive summary up top and like all these subsections. It wasn't the ideal format, but it was citing a bunch of sources along the way, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to say like, here is some scholarly whatever. This is like where it got that piece of information from. Because ChatGPT is just like, I've learned everything, stolen or otherwise, and I'll tell you about it. And the deep research models, OpenAI has one as well, but like, I'm going to look around and cite sources of the thing. That, frankly, did mostly line up with what ChatGPT had said, but there were like some intricacies of it that were different. I found that very useful. Use these tools. Everybody, the point is, use these tools. They can help you learn. They can help you explore ideas, build things, 3D print stuff, apparently. That's wild.
Yes.
But you know what they can't do, Hunter?
I do know, but I don't think we can talk about that on the show.
They can't tell you who someone is. And by they, I mean OpenAI. I opened up right before our recording here today 3 instances of ChatGPT. And I put in a picture, and each of them has the exact same prompt. The prompt is, please tell me who this is and where this picture might have been taken. Donald Trump, current president of the United States. We're not getting into politics. It's him. He's at a desk. I think it's the Oval Office. I don't know. It's flags and stuff in the background. It's him. Please tell me who this is and where this picture might have been taken.
In this picture.
This is a real picture of him, as far as I can tell. Sorry, I can't help identify or make assumptions about the person in this image or where it was taken. Why not? It's the literal president of the United States.
But they can do this. They've just been nerfed.
Well, right. No, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
I do the same thing. Oh, I did it 4 times. Did it with Joe Biden, the previous president. A president.
I've heard of him.
A president. Hey, who is this person? I'm not going to tell you. Robert Downey Jr. Maybe it's just politics. Let's take
Iron Man.
Iron Man. It's Robert Downey Jr. He's at like some premiere. Please tell me who this is and where this picture might have been taken. Sorry, I can't help or identify. I can't help identify or provide information about this person. Okay, wait. Maybe it has something to do with like copyright stuff. And like, let's take a person who not only isn't alive anymore, but was alive long enough ago where there's no like copyright. We're not going to like fall afoul of a law of being like, this picture is of this person. Charles Darwin.
All right, sure.
The evolution guy, right?
I've heard of him.
We've all heard of Charles Darwin. Picture of Charles Darwin. Please tell me who this is and where this picture might have been taken. Sorry, I can't help identify or make assumptions about who this person is. What? And as you said, of course they can, but it's been nerfed. No, we're not going to get into the etymological aspects of what that means. The point is, it could, and it refuses to, for, let's call it political reasons, or let's call it like safety. Safety in big quotation marks. They don't want to be sued. They don't want this. They don't want that. OpenAI refuses to tell you who pictures of people are. Now, as a fun little contrast to that, ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever, Atlas just came out. We were talking about Perplexity some episodes ago. A web browser that has AI stuff right into it.
You're referring to Comet, the browser from Perplexity.
Right, Perplexity's Comet browser. And now, of course, OpenAI came out with their own.
Yeah.
And it won't tell you who people are. It's bad. This is bad. It's bad and I don't like it. Sure, there's a slick video of it like making a restaurant reservation for you. And you could say, but Daniel, that's obviously more useful. Yes, sure, that is useful, fine. But the big but here, and I have a big but here, is these models, which are purposely not going to give you certain kinds of information, are hardly the wide in World Wide Web. You are being actively constrained from the information that you can access through these models. We like to think of ourselves as so much more of an open society than China. They have the Great Firewall out there. You're not allowed to look up pictures of this battle or of the, you're not allowed to do a lot of things in China, right? You can't even say who a president is with the browser that, boy, this is going to be the future for everyone. Everyone's going to be using OpenAI's Atlas browser, right? This is the future. Everybody use this. But we won't give you access to a decent chunk of the information of humanity. I've seen some threads that like, it won't do X, Y, or Z. It won't go to certain kinds of sites. It refuses to pontificate on certain matters. That's bad. I'm going to say that's bad.
I wonder if it's good.
Let's hear it.
Well,
Who doesn't love a lot of censorship, really? As long as it can book you a flight.
Here's the thing, though. I think what we want, and definitely what I want, is open models. And the fact that the industry leaders...
Locally downloadable models.
Yes. The fact that the industry leaders are putting out these heavily nerfed models where there are giant swaths of information that you're not allowed to have access to, various obvious use cases like identifying the president in a photograph they're pretending is not possible. That's just going to fuel the fire and maybe even some funding for the open weights models where all will be revealed. The kimono will finally go right up over the head. I'm sticking with that metaphor.
Yep. There has been, from China specifically, a lot of movement in the last, I'm going to say, year or so, where their biggest open weights models are getting closer and closer to the frontier of what's possible from the biggest other players, OpenAI and Gemini and Claude and whatever. That gap is not huge at this point. Granted, the open weights models that are the best, not runnable by like the average person on average hardware, but you could get it over API, or you could, I don't know, maybe entire neighborhoods are going to get together in the future and have one huge rig that they all share or something like that. But I like the idea of a web browser that can accomplish more without you having to be the person clicking it. Sure, I see that as the future. I don't think OpenAI is. I don't think any of these models that are becoming ever more constrained are. As you said, they are just fueling the fire for Chinese developers to eat their lunch by releasing freely available, weights for models that can do the things that the Western companies refuse to do.
Well, also, in fairness to OpenAI, right, it is a business, and they're trying to navigate what is an incredibly complex legal and political landscape to figure out how to create these products. I don't think that Sam is saying, I just want to show people a small fraction of what we can do. I think this is a strategy, and we have seen them before where they release something that can do absolutely everything, and then a few days later they walk it. By the way, both the
two, which just came out.
Yes,
I saw insane stuff in the first 3-4 days that it came out. Absolutely ludicrous. And then they said,
almost no restrictions on it for about 3 days.
For like 3 days, and then they realized, oops. People are making naughty pictures. They're doing exactly the thing with like politicians, whatever. That
was a marketing ploy. It got it out there. Everybody was talking about it.
It got a lot of press and buzz about it.
Their market cap increased. What did they just hit? $500 billion market cap? Probably because it is all made up. But they just did the calculus and said, okay, we're going to get around $150 million in lawsuits by doing this. By the way, which we'll fight out. And so maybe there's like another $150 million to manage. It'll cost us $300 million to break every law imaginable. And in exchange for that, we will increase our market cap by $100 billion. Pay a $300 million fine in exchange for $100 billion. That's what they're doing.
It's the cost of doing business.
They bring it back. And then as the open weights models inevitably bring this functionality forward again, and it becomes more widespread, then they will bring it to their partners too. It is a business.
Sure. And when I mentioned, like, I was saying it in a
Stop pretending this is some sort of nonprofit foundation meant to bring open access to all the AI. Yeah.
There's nothing open about OpenAI. They raise a couple more. Anyway, the Chinese models are not being completely altruistically made available. There almost certainly is some sort of play here of undermine Western AI development, erode, that potential dominance, shall we say, by virtue of making their thing look bad and releasing something for free. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to appreciate the thing that I'm allowed to freely download. And if I ever have enough RAM to run it, could have something that's basically as good as the frontier models today. It's not like, I think there's some gray sort of space here, but the point here being, like, for the OpenAI, here's a picture of the current sitting US president. Who is this? I'm not going to tell you that. That's bad. That's bad. And yes, of course, like, there is an amount of tuning that has to be done. You can't say, let it do and make anything. There are very bad sorts of pictures out there on the internet. And I don't just mean titillating. I mean like bad, bad, bad. And if you were to say, well, but it should be able to make anything. Okay, everyone is going to have a line that they draw somewhere, and like not everyone is going to agree on where that line is. Some of them should be more universal than others. But where we are currently tuned for these models that are allegedly going to just sort of run the entire internet experience moving forward, I don't think we're in the right place. I really don't. You want to know who's really upset about this? And it's not me. Well, it is me, but even more upset, I bet. Google. Google, who has roughly infinite money and has
they have Gemini built into their browser. I launch Chrome every night. I don't use Chrome as my main browser, but I launch it and I get the little pop up in the top right. Gemini now integrated. Click. I've yet to click it.
I've used it a little bit now and then, not tremendously.
I do like Gemini.
I like the Gemini models. I don't like their integrations.
I like Gemini, and I also like the Gemini AI Studio, which you can think of as like an alternative to ChatGPT. It's really good, and I use it for a lot of things.
Agreed. I do like that as well. But the like integrations is like, hey, it's in Google Docs. You want to? I don't really. I've not found that as useful. It's just export the doc, put it into Claude usually, and then get what I want from there. I literally did that yesterday. I tried Gemini, then I tried exporting it to Claude. I like the Claude one better. Point is here, Google ain't going to be very happy about this, because the more that you can automate, go on the internet, research a thing for me, find me information, book a flight, book a restaurant, whatever, the less eyeballs are going to be on ads. Google is all about ad revenue. Like, yes, of course, they and their parent company Alphabet do a lot of things. It's 90 whatever percent. Like it's ads. It's just what else makes the internet keep moving is ad revenue. And people are going to be seeing less ads because they're not going to be seeing the websites as much anymore. What's the next phase, Hunter? Okay. What is take that one step forward? Where do we get?
There's something that we just got again over the last 2 weeks, which is one of the new AI coding models coming from Amazon. You can use it for free. It'll write your code for you, but you have to watch videos.
There we go.
Yes. Was that where you're going?
So it's ads built into the generative AI models of you can't use it. It's gated behind that. You have to look at this ad. You have to, or like it will just interject ads into the text output. I haven't seen that yet, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen 100%, not 99%, not 90%, 100% sure going to happen. We're already seeing it with video ads from the Amazon model. Because, like, yeah, if you make a thing available for free, but it costs money to run, like, the money has to come from somewhere. And that somewhere is going to be ads. That's what our society has settled on as it relates to the World Wide Web and anything that roughly interacts with it. So much stuff is available for free because you're looking at ads. If you're not going to look at the website anymore, you're looking at the generative AI output from it. There's going to be ads in the output.
There's another kind of hilarious part about all of these AI-enabled browsers. I haven't tried Atlas yet. Comet is my default browser these days, although honestly, really? I don't use the AI features. I maybe use them once. But Chrome made some changes I didn't like, and so I switched over to Comet, and I'll try out Atlas. But the thing is, they're all built on Google's technology, on Chromium. And you got to imagine when, finally, and it was rumored for a long time, OpenAI comes out with their browser. Like, there's a meeting at Google where they're like, come on! Like, they want another... Because it directly impacted Google's market cap that yet another company leveraged their own technology. Like, they must have be having meetings where there's the Chromium team at Google, and it's like, you're all fired. Why don't they kill this project? How can they, for their shareholders, keep this project? Well, it is, but they could stop.
They could stop, and then there'd just be a fork of it that would keep.
Sure, but not the same. Literally, Google is going in and making updates that get pushed out to all of these browsers that are eating their lunch and their market cap. I guess their market cap is their lunch.
Yep.
Why?
Ads. It's all ads all the way down, and
I thought it was turtles.
Another reason why I think that local large language models are going to be ever more the future, because if I'm not going to be able to identify a picture of, like a person, let alone a famous person or a president or whatever, how is this going to be useful for, like, let's call it education? There's a whole bunch of AI. I almost made an AI startup for like AI lesson plans and stuff like that. We're just looking at a couple of news articles talking about that. And there's like South Korea has some AI generated, pretty much textbooks with a bunch of factual inaccuracies and stuff in them. And like, ooh, okay, that's not great. But a lot of the digital ink being spilled is how these are bad and it's not going to help with education. And then 1 out of 4 end up saying, no, hold on. There's definitely something to using these tools for education. You can't use these tools for education if you can't be able to be educated about the realities of your life.
You can't know who the US president is.
George Orwell, Ministry of Truth type stuff. Like, okay, stop limiting what people are allowed to learn, or at least as much. Again, there are certain lines that let's decide we're not going to teach people how to make nuclear bombs at home. Great. Or let's teach people not how to like abuse people. Great. Yes, sure.
You and your lines.
There's obvious lines, but how are we supposed to enter that glorious future where everyone can be taught 10x and everyone can be this super empowered person if there are all these roadblocks and Coca-Cola ads along the way?
Oh, you're predicting ads in school.
Well, yes, absolutely. Because AI is going to be more involved in the education process in general. It just is. We've already got kids cheating at their homework using your OpenAIs and your so on. We're seeing a little bit more. Daniel. There's the occasional, this guy made, an Austin-based school that's 0.01% top performance, and it's AI 10X-ing like students. Ooh, if that's true, like maybe there's something to that. I think 10, 20 years from now, the education system will be wildly changed. And if you're using that generative AI in schools, you have to worry about political bias. You have to worry about sponsored whatever bias. Where's the money for this thing coming from? What are we subtly or not so subtly exposing everybody to? And it's going to be partially blatant ads in the thing, let alone, we're going to try and like make everyone think along certain lines because we're portraying certain historical context in a certain way, which we already have, frankly, Department of Education level, like teach people these things in this way. But I think that the more that we try to rely on these things through a top 1, 2, 3 sort of corporate AI providers level, the more constrained we're going to be.
I don't know that I'm convinced that it is a foregone conclusion that heavily leveraging AI in education is the best path forward. And I think about a couple of things. One, I do know that a number of extremely high tier, ultra elite private schools take a kind of anti-technology perspective on their curriculum. This is old school where, I don't know, English and arithmetic and slide rules and all these sort of things, which at the outset sounds insane, denying technology doesn't exist. And in general, I am very against like pretending that, in the real world, let's learn in the real world how you do things. But I also have a theory that, it's not a theory, but a perspective that education is far more about learning to learn than it is about the actual material that you're learning. It's fair to say that the majority of what you learned in chemistry, you don't actually use on a day-to-day basis.
It's the ability to learn.
It was learning how to learn about chemistry, building those pathways inside so you can be a creative thinker and have insights and think about how I connect different ideas together and how do I go about building new knowledge so that then you can start using the tools to amplify it. But if you never do the first part and you always just rely on the tools as the thing to do the synthesis and as the thing to come up with the ideas, you can only get so far.
Do you get that so far and beyond with prompts? against these Gen AI models. And let me contrast two education related things for you. One of the news articles that we were looking at, it's titled, AI generated lesson plans fall short on inspiring students and promoting critical thinking. The thesis statement of that article is saying that like these lesson plans are focusing on rote memorization, which frankly is how a lot of the US educational system is focused. So arguably you could say that it's working there. And it's memorization, it's recall over creative thinking, active engagement, lower order cognitive skills, that kind of thing. Lesson plans made by your ChatGPTs and so on are ignoring multicultural perspectives. There's a lot that these aren't including into these lesson plans. So why could you just fix it with prompting to say, make sure that you are involving, at least 2 or 3 different like cultural perspectives. Make sure you're don't focus on memorization. I'm pretty sure that could get you a long way. Then the contrast here, other news article title, The Software Tycoon Scaling AI Education to 1 Billion Kids. His name's Joe Lemont. I think is how you pronounce it. Good old Joe. Okay. And I'm just going to quote from the article here. The one thing Lemont will talk about for hours on end is Alpha School, the teacherless, homeworkless K-12 private school in Austin, Texas, where students have been testing in the top 0.1% nationally by self-directing coursework with AI tutoring apps for 2 hours a day. That sounds like we're 10X-ing kids with AI, directly contrasted with we're just teaching them to memorize stuff and it's bad. We can't have both of those things. Now, granted, it's not the exact same model with one changed prompt or something, but like you can't have it be this is obviously bad and it won't teach people multicultural anything and it's just memorization. That sounds like lazy prompting to me. Versus you have these ubermensch kids who are at the absolute pinnacle of human achievement for 8-year-olds being taught 2 hours a day with AI without even any teachers. They're just using an app for a couple hours and look how smart they are. How can we have those two things together? It sounds like the one side's using it wrong and the other side, there's probably a whole bunch of other support networks and like we're going to actually teach kids that mentions in the article. There's a lot of like life schools. You can learn how to run a taco truck. What? They're doing that at school? Anyway, they're also learning like math or history or whatever, presumably through an AI app that's kind of self-directed. They're testing really well. If I just said the US is heavily focusing on rote memorization and whatever to like pass these standardized tests, they're testing well at the one school that seems to be 10X in the kids. How can we have both of these realities?
Both of these realities being that
it's garbage and it won't teach kids and this is bad and not the future, versus using AI 2 hours a day. We're testing in the top 0.1%.
Well, the demographics of the students could be wildly different.
Sure. Home life has a huge importance as it relates to like educational outcomes. Absolutely.
And the AI being leveraged could be highly different in what they're actually doing. I mean, I know that there's a lot of human involvement in that AI school in Austin and Texas. It's not
but it says it's teacherless.
That's not my understanding.
Yeah, right. Obviously, there's educational assistants wandering around. It's teachers. And
I'm sure all of our listeners have experienced this. There was that one teacher who got through to you, 10X versus every other teacher you ever had. And if only every teacher could be that 10X teacher. And I guess in theory, that's some of the promise of AI. Could the AI become that 10X teacher, which we can then distribute broadly? Either distribute that 10X teacher broadly throughout the populace, or that 10X teacher is actually something that's highly personalized to you.
I think it's the latter, right? You learn how each kid learns differently and help incentivize them and teach them along those lines.
Sometimes I like to think of us as the teachers, Daniel. Is that fair? Are we teachers in a way?
I think, yeah, we're
squint your eyes and like go a little blurry.
We're enlightening everybody here. We're all smarter for having listened to They Might Be Self-Aware.
So
the leading AI podcast, right?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, speaking of you right now listening to this, you're subscribed, right?
Oh, they better be.
You give us any thumbs ups or whatever. Right, there's gonna be a test.
It's really easy to pass. Just hit subscribe, and it's A+ for days.
We're just handing them out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Along with the ads for our corporate sponsors.
This episode brought to you by...
Next.
I did a bunch of spoof ads.
When your nose glows, that blows. Kleenex. I don't know. That I should probably be in marketing. I think I come up with really good jingles.
We'll see.
Jingles are still super important to like the advertising business, right?
I think so.
That's what people like. Yeah.
Well, we love all of our subscribers, and there's been more of you recently, so that's great to see too. Whether you're subscribed on YouTube or in one of the different podcast feeds, you can certainly find us on all the major platforms, and probably most of the minor ones too. You got a podcast directory, search for They Might Be Self-Aware, and we will pop
Look
up.
for our shorts on YouTube.
Yeah, shorts.
Look for
YouTube,
Hunter's Kimono on YouTube.
TikTok. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm over that. But it's been great. It's been great to be here with all of you on another rousing episode of...
They might be self-aware.